But if it was up to me and I only had to pick one of these two shoes, which shoe am I going for? Well, shoe comparison I got for you guys today. So we are going to put the Adidas Adizero Adios Pro 4 up against the brand new Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. So I'll go through their similarities, their differences, and their key features, and hopefully from that, that'll give you guys a great indication of choosing the right race shoe for you. But before we get into it, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And in the specs, so these ones are both neutral road racing shoes. Now what is jumping out to me there is firstly the big price difference, especially here in Australia. So you're going to pay $60 more for the Elite 2, more so than the Pro. Now, is that price difference warranted? Well, I'm not so sure. I'm interested to hear what you think at the end of the review. Now, in the weight, there is not much between these two shoes. I can't really tell the difference between the two when wearing them at the same time. And that goes for the same as the Stacks as well. They feel pretty similar to me, but you do feel a little bit more wobbly in the Elite 2. And in the upper, so two very different materials going on here, and performance-wise, they do perform quite differently as well. So what they use here in the Pro 4 is what they call Light Lock. Now this Light Lock, it's a really soft, flexible, and super comfortable material. Conforms around the foot, but it's just not breathable, which is pretty disappointing, especially in a race shoe. We've got really flimsy heel counter here in the Pro 4. You can see me just folding that over there. Not much padding in the shoe at all because it is a race shoe. We've got a couple of internal pads here just inside the heel collar there. They do an okay job just to hold that heel in place. Really thin tongue. The tongue is not gusseted, but it is stitched into the side, and that does a great job because it stops the tongue from sliding around. It's pretty easy to get your foot in this shoe. Our tongue has just got one single pad on it that runs up and down the middle of the tongue to take the laces pressure off. With our laces though, they're really thin. They can get a bit fiddly just to get the lockdown right in the shoe, but once you do get it right, it is, you can dial it in, it's quite nice. So I get a really good lockdown here, no heel slippage, pretty good over the midfoot. In the fit, I'm going to say true to size for me. I have mentioned the sizing issues in the Pro 4 in comparison to the previous model, the Pro 3. So this shoe is a half size smaller than the previous model if you're concerned about that. Build quality excellent. Stepping comfort, don't really care because it is a race shoe, but it is a pretty comfortable shoe. Now in the Elite 2, so totally different upper here, and what this shoe is that the Pro 4 is not. This super lightweight mesh that they've got all around the shoe is incredibly breathable, and that is a big advantage that the Elite 2 has over the Pro 4. But just like the Pro 4, it's got a really flimsy heel counter at the back, so no structure at all. But you can see here we've got a nice big Achilles flare at the back. I don't mind that. No padding around the heel collar or on the tongue, but there is an Achilles pillow, this small little Achilles pillow on the back here, and that will just rest against the back of your Achilles there just to take any irritation that may occur. Now with the tongue, this is a stretched knit tongue. It is stitched into the shoe, so the whole shoe is just one piece, a bit like a booty design, and a nice little feature about the tongue. It's got a little, it flips over at the top. You can hide your laces underneath there. Now the lacing system here is quite different as well. They don't have eyelets here. They've just got these lace loops stitched into the side of the shoe. Now the laces are the same that they've used in the Endorphin Pro and the Speed. So these laces are really, they've got a lot of stretch to them. So it can get a little tricky trying to fiddle these up together and creating a good lockdown, because when you think you've got a good lockdown, they can stretch just that little bit more, then they need adjusting again. But once you've got that sorted out, lockdown is pretty good because your foot sits right back in these shoes. As you can see here, the angle of the back of that heel cup there goes right in and curls right up. So that's probably not going to suit everyone's foot, so especially around the ankle. But luckily for me, it goes well for me because the foot just goes right back in there and it just locks straight into place. So excellent lockdown once you get those laces sorted. Now in the fit, we've got an issue here. So it's coming up short. I'm not going to say it's a full half size. Yeah, it probably is. Probably about half a size short to what it should be. However, there's a lot of volume in the toe box here and the width is quite good. It's just the coming up short. Now, if you go half size up in this shoe, you do run the risk of the shoe being just a bit too loose and too voluminous through the toe box. So it might be a bit wide and your foot might be flapping around if you go half size up. So you just need a bit of a trade-off there, what you would prefer. Saying that though, my foot, although it does come pretty close to the end here, so about half a thumb width to the end, it still hasn't come forward, and I haven't had my toe smashing into the front of the shoe, which is a big advantage. Build quality here, excellent by Saucony, and stepping comfort again, not too concerned, but it is a bit of a wow factor shoe once you put your foot in it and start squishing around. So in our outsoles here, I really like what both shoe companies have got going on. They're both using this brand new compound of covering. I'm not sure if it's a rubber in either shoe, but whatever it is, it's absolutely effective because it is sticky, super sticky and super thin in both shoes, and it does not affect or does not take anything away from the ride of these shoes. So it really complements these really soft foams. So with the Pro 4, they call it light traction. As I said, it's paper thin, so it's super thin and so sticky. It's got a little bit of a tread pattern on it, but I probably don't think that you would need it because, yeah, it just is so sticky. Haven't had any dramas with it in the grip, in the wet or in the dry. And what is surprising is its durability. So it doesn't show any form of, so a standard rubber will like grind down. You can see the lugs that will grind down. This doesn't show anything like that. So I can see that the foam is getting a bit scuffed up to the side of it, but the actual covering, so this light traction itself, it doesn't even scratch from the road surface. So yeah, I think this, whatever they've got going on here is an absolutely amazing addition to the outsole here. They do have a bit of their historical Continental rubber here just under the big toe. Just to probably add a little bit more durability up under the big toe there, because when we're racing in our shoes, a lot of people have a lot of wear up in this area here. Some more features on the bottom here. We've got some big cutouts and some big grooves at the bottom of the shoe, just adding to the ride of the shoe, and you can also see those exposed energy rods there. Now with our Elite 2, I'm not too sure what this compound, this outsole compound is called, but as I said, it's definitely not that XT900 rubber that was super slippery in the wet that they've used in all their other shoes. So this is totally different. As I said, again, it's paper thin, probably a little bit thicker than the light traction, but just so soft. As I said, it just goes in with the foam. Now, as I said, I haven't tried this one out in super wet conditions yet, but I've tried it on a bit of a greasy road and it was fine. So good improvement there from Saucony. Big kudos there. And in the midsoles here, I think we have two of the softest foams on the market. So brand new version of the Light Strike Pro in the Pro 4. So this formulation of Light Strike Pro is certainly the softest that they've ever come up with. Crazy soft. So two layers of our Light Strike Pro here. We've got our top layer, and then under that they've got their energy rods. So the energy rods, I think they're the 2.0 ones. They give the foam in the midsole some structure, full length. And as you can see in the rigidity department here, it's a very stiff shoe. So there's a little bit of flex up here on the toes, but that's where those energy rods stop. Now under those energy rods, bottom layer of that Light Strike Pro, giving us a nice soft landing. Now the magic in this shoe is certainly in the geometry. So we've got a really early stage rocker, so right back here. And it is a pretty aggressive swoop forward as well. So I really love the geometry, what they've done here. Big early rocker that's quite easily to get onto no matter what pace that you're running. And Elite 2, what we've got here, brand new foam compound, is called IncrediRun. And as I mentioned before, probably two of the softest foams on the market. And this one is actually softer than the Pro 4, what they use in the Pro 4. But again, two layers of this foam. So they've got a top layer, and then under that they've got a full length slotted carbon plate. So it's pretty much a standard carbon plate up until about here of the shoe, and then they've got some slots up around near the forefoot. And that's probably just to add a little bit of flexibility around the toe area. Now, under that carbon plate, we have their bottom layer of this IncrediRun foam. Now, in the rigidity department, stiffness-wise, it's a pretty stiff shoe, and again, we've got a little bit of flex there under the toe, so which is the stiffer shoe? Yeah, I think the Pro 4 is the stiffer shoe, so them energy rods have got more rigidity. Now, geometry-wise, this is where these two shoes are quite different. So this shoe has got a later stage rocker, so not an earlier stage rocker. So the rocker starts more back towards the middle of the foot in the Pro 4, but certainly starts more up to the toes in the Elite 2. And obviously it sort of kicks in at different stages of your foot strike. So late stage here, and it's quite an aggressive swoop forward. But I tell you what we do have in this shoe, it's quite an aggressive toe spring. So the angle here, from where that rocker starts up until the angle of how high that your toe sits. So yes, very aggressive toe spring, does take a little bit to get used to. And in the rides, so yes, both are soft, both are bouncy, both feel fast, they're propulsive, but how are they different? Well, the big difference is, firstly, the amount of bounce that you get out of the shoe. So both these two shoes, very soft through the heel, but you get more bounce out of the Elite 2, especially through the heel. Well, actually, throughout the whole shoe. So this shoe, no matter where you land in this shoe, it's pretty consistent from where you land, but you get a lot of bounce. So this foam is really just showing what it can do. So lots of magic in this foam, lots of squish, lots of bounce, but you're getting a pretty consistent bounce throughout the shoe. Now, in the Pro 4, you get a really nice soft heel. It's got a little bit of bounce, but again, not as much bounce or energy return as the Elite. But what you do here, where the magic happens in this shoe, is all about the geometry. So we get this nice soft heel that takes all the impact out. And then as you roll onto this big early rocker, you sink right into this really soft, squishy foam. And then this rocker just rolls you out of the foam and you get a nice little bit of bounce and off you go onto your next foot strike. So this ride for me, very smooth, very efficient, but the magic, I said, it's early in this big early stage rocker. Really, really nice, especially at those paces or those efforts around that marathon pace, where you get the most out of this shoe, I think, when you're running faster. So for me, half marathon pace and under, for my foot strike, is where I really can start utilizing the rocker in this shoe. So the later rocker for me, later rockers really work when I start putting some real pace into it. So a little bit faster than marathon pace for me. When I start getting onto my toes, that's when I get the most out of the shoe. But all in all, super bouncy shoe. Now, stability-wise, when comparing these two shoes, so I think the Pro 4 is the more stable shoe, even though they both got really soft heels. So I've got much more confidence in the Pro 4, and that's just because the shoe does firm up throughout the middle of the shoe, especially going around corners and so forth. I've got much more confidence in the Pro 4, more so than the Elite 2. And best use, so for me, the Pro 4 is certainly ideal for marathon pace, so for your marathons. This, for me, this early geometry works beautifully with my marathon pace. Yes, it can go faster, so half marathon for 10K, 5K, definitely can go faster, but it just doesn't feel as explosive or as comfortable at those super fast speeds, whereas opposite for me, for the Elite 2, this one, I think the geometry for me, it's just a little bit too late for me to get really comfortable at marathon pace in this shoe. This shoe for me comes alive, half marathon pace, 10K, 5K. And just wrapping up the comparison here between these two shoes, so for me, both excellent race day options, but the magic is in different parts of the shoe, different features. So the magic in the Pro 4 is this big early stage rocker, and the magic in the Elite 2 is all about this IncrediRun bouncy soft foam. So I think the more runner friendly shoe is certainly going to be the Pro 4. This geometry is going to suit more people. It's a little bit more of a stable ride, so I think more runners are going to get along with this shoe. Saying that though, not many runners, or I know the heel collar and stuff around this shoe does annoy a lot of runners, whereas the Pro 4, the Elite 2, you're going to get more wow factor out of this shoe, much more bounce, much more of an exciting ride. But I think to get the most out of this geometry, it's going to take those people that can really utilize this rocker. So guys that are pretty much up on their toes to really get the full propulsion benefits out of this shoe. But if it was up to me and I only had to pick one of these two shoes, which shoe am I going for? Well, if price is a consideration here, well, I don't think the Elite 2 is worth $60 more than the Pro 4. So price being considered, I'd buy the Pro 4. However, if price is not in the equation, then I still think I'm going to go the Pro 4, and that's just because the geometry is just a little bit more friendly. I can get more use out of this shoe, more so than the Elite 2. But saying that though, I have more fun in the Elite 2. It's just because this geometry just won't work for me, or won't work for my marathon pace. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes, feel free just to ask me in the comments below. And again, if you want any of these two shoes compared with anything else, just drop it in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.